Good morning. I don't know if you've seen the news, but something has happened. Welcome to Behind the Leazes podcast. We didn't actually have a podcast scheduled for this weekend, but if you've been living under a rock, you probably won't know, but Newcastle United have officially been taken over by a massive conglomerate, a massive consortium, which makes Newcastle the richest football club in the world. And, I didn't think I'd ever say that, guys. People were asking us on Saturday about the takeover, because obviously I live in Manchester, loads of different fans live there. People asking me what's happening with this takeover. I was telling them, I just said, stop asking me. It's not happening. Stop asking me. What a difference a few days make, eh? Adam, Rob, you're both here today. We've not got Andy this morning. Adam, I'll come to you, mate. You've been on top of all these things. You've been doing live streams. You went to the ground dead early. You saw the initial reaction from all the fans. How are you feeling knowing that, Mike Ashley's gone and Newcastle have officially been taken over?
Yes! This is that pent-up frustration for years from Mike Ashley. He's useless. Thank God he's gone. But, even Liam himself, he was on my live stream on the Thursday, a couple of hours before it happened. He was still I want to wait for the official announcement. He just didn't think it was going to be true. He just couldn't see it happening. But yeah, it eventually happened. What a time to be alive. It's incredible. I've said at the start of the season, I go every single match this season. That was before takeovers happened. So now I've already got Palace and Brighton away tickets. I can't really get down to those two games now.
Yeah, honestly, mate, what an absolute buzz it's going to be. Going to the ground, especially for the Spurs game and the away games as well. The sellout anyways, but just the atmosphere of those games are going to be absolutely fantastic. Rob, you were in a car, I think, when the takeover got announced, so you would have been jumping up for joy, I'm sure. What was your initial reaction to everything?
Even at this point now, sitting here 2 days after it's been announced, I'm still trying to get my head around it, to be honest. I was always just turning away the idea that this was ever going to happen. We've spoken about it that many times, and I was always just saying, I honestly just thought it wasn't going to happen. And then within pretty much 24 hours, 48 hours, it went from a little rumor to it actually being done. Because as I say, even when I was out and about that day and I was still getting messages through, and I was like, is it though? Is it really? Is it just another one of these fake overs? Ashley wants a little bit more publicity. Is anything actually going to happen? So as I say, when I was out in the car, I'm still thinking, nothing's going to happen. And then I stopped the car, checked my phone, and I've got about 1 million messages saying that it's actually gone through. So I raced home, ran to St. James's Park, and then and celebrated with everyone else. So yeah, it's been absolutely crazy. Really didn't think it was going to happen. And as you say, just, what was it, 4.5 years ago, Amanda Staveley went to watch the Newcastle versus Liverpool game. That was when these rumours started. And since then, we've done absolutely nothing on the football pitch, and it's been absolute chaos off the football pitch. So as much of excitement and euphoria, so much relief as well to just finally have this done and stop arguing and just look forward to the future.
Of course, it's a crazy feeling, isn't it? It's like Adam said, I went on his podcast, the day that had happened a few hours before, and I still didn't think it was going to happen. There was even tweets talking about little red tape that are sort of surrounding the takeover, maybe little bits and bobs that would just delay it a little bit. It didn't really seem to matter on Thursday, did it? And no. The fans packed the ground. It was a fantastic atmosphere, I must say. I wish I could have gone. You guys both went there. I'm sure. I'm sure it was a fantastic atmosphere. Adam, you went quite early, so you saw everything sort of build up. What was the sort of vibe at the ground quite early on, and then obviously going towards the end of the day before you left?
It was just a buzz. At that point at the ground, it wasn't really an uncertainty anymore. Yes, it hasn't been announced, but everyone knew it was just a matter of hours away or minutes away. Yeah, I head down to Tesco straight away, got a credit card for $7.50. That was great. But even at the ground, some guy came up with us and he's like, "Oh, a couple of can of corn." I was like, "All right." You just gave us a $5. I was like, "Listen, mate, you can take a couple out of that bin. We just bought one can for a $5." Yeah, that was the kind of reactions people had. Really, just didn't care. They just wanted to get down there, have a great time. Yeah. when the news hit, I mean, I was just standing next to the boy who was the statue. Everyone just jumping around. There's smoke bombs going off. I mean, there's all sorts going off. Yeah, it was a great feeling. I mean, yeah, our football club is back. As football club's ambitious once again, and that's all Newcastle fans have ever wanted.
Of course, it really was #Cans, wasn't it? I think we've been saying that quite ironically, I think, for the past few years.
Yeah.
But it has really finally happened now, and it was so nice, I think, to see. As cringy as it's going to sound, Newcastle United. Really everyone just joining together in unity, just having a little sing along, having a little drink, just knowing that the dark days might be over finally, and this new wave of possible success. We don't even really know. I think we need to stay up this season first. But, just it's a new era at the club. It's brilliant, isn't it, Rob? You went to the ground as well. What time did you stay till?
Yeah, so I got down there at about 6:30. At this point, everything was already in full swing. Everyone was going crazy, hoying drinks around. So I sat quietly at the back and just watched from a view. So and I think I was there till about 10:30. So I was there quite late, and even then, it was still going on. It had quietened out a little bit, but it was people were still going for it. Cars were driving past and just park because the police were trying to stop people staying on the road. There was cars pulling through, playing Local Hero and stuff at 1 mile an hour, just to give everyone just a bit of a boost with a bit of music. So, yeah, the whole thing was brilliant. And you've just said it there about bringing the fans back together and being united. I mean, that was one thing that really hit us when I was there, was the fact that for like the last however many years on the way to the stadium, if there's anything not going on outside, it's people protesting, people handing out flyers saying don't go in the game, people are wanting to boycott the games. And that's the first time I've seen a group of people outside of St. James's Park actually cheering at something, not arguing, not protesting, not telling people don't go in the club shop. There's been so much rubbish for us to deal with. And that was the day where everyone just stood together and actually celebrated something. So, again, we've not even talked about the football yet. But just that in itself was why we wanted the takeover to go through. That was it right there. So, yeah, it was a brilliant feeling, and I absolutely loved it.
We've had a couple of comments come in. One from Jason. He's talking about just how sort of happy he is with everything. He said the last time there was a celebration like that was when King Kev got his promotion to the Premier League. It felt like it was the same kind of togetherness with the fans. So that would have been, back in 93, 92? So, we're not even in our near our 30s or anything.
Yeah.
I mean, Rob, I'm not sure about you.
I was going to say it was the 95 who came second in the league, wasn't it? So it must have been a few years before that. I mean, I was born, but I don't remember.
In college, I had a tutor who was a Manchester United fan, but he always remembered the buzz around the stadium, around the city, and I think we have got that buzz back. Of course, we probably won't remember it as much, but it's good to know that that ambition is there, and I think that's a big word with this takeover. It's ambition.
Yeah.
Adam, what do you think our ambitions are for the next 5-10 years now that this takeover has gone through?
Well, I mean, Romano Steve's already sort of touched on some of it. She said she wanted to win the Premier League title within the next 5 to 10 years. Said she wants Newcastle to be consistently competing for major honours. She said that Newcastle wants to be a super club like Man City and PSG. I mean, I've seen all that being put out in some articles. I mean, the amount of money these people have got, they're not just here to have a couple of cans on it. Obviously, here to get the club going somewhere here to try and make Newcastle our big European team. But we need to be patient. Not everything's going to happen in day one. Like I said, we are 19th in the league at the minute. That doesn't change anything. We need to stay up this season. Then next year, we begin to get some signs and begin to lay the foundations. And then a couple of seasons, just progressively build up the table. And I think, I think we will win some major honours in my lifetime now. But we'll see how long it's going to take them.
I know. I never thought we'd be talking about winning trophies, things like that. Maybe it's a League Cup or something like that, but never, possible Champions Leagues. But we can't get ahead of ourselves. Like you said, Rome wasn't built in a day. There is definitely a plan set out. What the plan is, I mean, we'll never sort of truly know. Rob, there's been talk about Steve Bruce, potentially getting just a nice little payoff. Do you think he'd take that, or do you think he'd want maybe a couple of games, or do you think it's just out of his control?
Well, I mean, for me, didn't think Steve Bruce had a chance, and I still don't think he does. I think he will 100% be leaving this club. The question is whether it's before the Spurs game or after the Spurs game. I've heard that apparently the Spurs game is meant to be his 1000th game in charge. So, I'm just thinking, are they going to let him have that? Is a nicety before they say goodbye? And, it's... Of anything, I think if they do keep Bruce for that game, I think the owners need to announce that it is his last game, and then at least that way the fans won't. Basically, going in that Spurs game, you only want to have something to cheer about. I think if Steve Bruce is still on the sideline, that opens up a possible little bit of negative energy where the fans don't particularly want him there. And as I say, he hasn't won a game in 7 games. He's not won in 7 games. It's not like he's had a good season, then he's getting sacked because there's a new owner. Like, he's actually deserves to be sacked regardless of whether we've had a new owner or not. So I really don't see why they would want to keep him in any way, shape or form. And I do think that just letting him go before the Spurs game, letting Graham Jones be caretaker manager would just be the better thing to do to make sure that it's only positive vibes at the match. I think if Steve Bruce is still sat there, there's an openness for possible jeers or boos. And as I say, if they do want to do the nice thing and keep him for the Spurs game, at least announce that it will be his last game. Because if they do that, I think that would maybe possibly people might even cheer for him if they did that just to say goodbye. Because I can't see people bothering to boo if he's going to be leaving the next day anyway. But yeah, I think for me, he's got to go. Who to come in next? I don't know. But I'm sure the guys upstairs have got a plan.
It could literally be anyone that could come in next. And I do get your point there completely. I think, Adam mentioned on his podcast that he felt like it would be maybe a bit of a hostile environment should Steve Bruce still be in the job in the Spurs game. I think maybe saying that this will be his last game, his 1000th game, it's fair enough. Maybe just, allowing him to get like a nice little send-off. We don't really know. But Adam, do you reckon Bruce will be sacked before the Spurs game, or do you think he'll have the Spurs game and Graham Jones will just be on the sidelines as the assistant?
Well, I've heard a lot of people say, give Steve his 1000 game, let him go off into the sunset. No, he doesn't deserve 1,000 games in the Premier League. He's only won about 300 of them. But why does he deserve an hour match? He's useless. I mean, yeah. If the takeover didn't happen, he probably would have sent me down this season. So I haven't got any sympathy whatsoever. He could have walked. He could have had the chance to walk away. Instead, he's took the money. He wants that money. And I mean, yeah, I can't wait to see him sacked. But I will say this though. I actually hope he gets the Tottenham game because I want everyone in that team just to send them off, just to wave at him, just to literally just take the mick out. I just want to see people just rinse him. And then, in terms of new managers coming in, I mean, there's just so many options, like you said, but it just depends how quickly they get manager in. That's the thing. I think international breaks came at a good time for Newcastle to give this time to sort of settle everything down. And in terms of managers, I mean, there's plenty out there, but I don't know how realistic they are, but I would love to see Conte or Zidane at the club, one of those two. But just mental how we talked about that upgrade.
Well, I think they already mentioned Conte, didn't they? Or I saw a report at least that said Conte wouldn't really be that interested in joining. It's fair enough, isn't it? We are still, second bottom in the table. Yes. I think we just need a manager who could definitely steady the ship. Maybe he's like an Eddie Howe, something like that. Just someone who would come in and just make sure we're definitely stayed up. Would just do the job, get a bit of respect from the club, from the board. We talk about Rome not being built in a day, but there have already been some sort of rumours going about sort of different ambassadors, maybe welcoming Kevin Keegan back in as an Icon ambassador role. Rob, you're sort of nodding your head there. Would you agree with that? Do you think that's quite a logical thing to do?
Absolutely. I think it's some of these things that we're not even talking about football, and everyone's obviously a big takeover, big money. People want to know about signings, big money signings, when we'll get into the Champions League and all that stuff. It's great to laugh about and joke about, and I really hope it does happen one day. But in terms of just the right here, right now, 2 days after a takeover, it's these things like legends programs, ambassadors roles, like these kind of things should just be happening at a club, regardless of whether you've got money or haven't got money. Whether you've got £2, £100 or 300 billion quid, like these things should just be in place as a standard. And in terms of ambassador roles, the whole idea around it really is for them to kind of stick up for the fans in the board meetings and kind of have the word of the fans. I mean, the way Amanda's talking, she's already been listening to the fans anyway. So, these kind of things is great to hear. And as I say, things like Legends programs, it's been so good to see Sky Sports with Rob Lee, Warren Barton, Lee Clark, and like all these old school legends talking about the club. Like, I want to see them. I want to see more of them. I want to have like a Newcastle TV where we actually have a channel where we can go on and watch like the ins and outs of this. And Amanda Staveley supposedly going to the training ground to speak to the players. Like, I want to see that. Like, it's been ran so tight and there's been so little coming out of the club for so long. It's one of the big reasons why everyone feels so disconnected, because you just don't know what's happening. Like, there is zero visibility. I want 100% visibility. I want all the guys back. I want to see what they've got to say. I want to see them doing pre-match chats on some channel somewhere. All that would be amazing. And again, the ambassador role, Kevin Keegan, supposedly one of the first things she did was ring Shearer and ask if he'd be interested in a role. I mean, you really can't go wrong with those kind of decisions, because they know what it means to the club and the fans, and they're always going to be on our side. So I'm 100% behind getting them involved.
And I think this is something that definitely needs to be addressed. I think a lot of fans of other clubs just think, oh, you know what? Oh, they've just got loads of money now, so all they want to do is just sign loads of players and win trophies and that. It's not. Obviously it'd be nice to do that, but it's not really about that. I think it's just about having a lot of sort of, like, what's the word? Just being able to communicate with the owners properly, and just making sure that, we know what's going on. We know that the club's being ran well. There's a Chronicle article that I want to bring you guys' attention to. It says 19 open goals Amanda Staveley and the new owners can tap in this season. It's written by Matthew Ketchell, or Ketch. I think he writes for he used to write for Match of the Day before going to the Chronicle. So I'll read just a few of these things off. Installing the safe standing area at St James's Park. Ambassador roles, maybe renaming the East Stand to the Sir Bobby Robson Stand or the Sir Bobby Robson Foundation Stand. What else have we got? Just little things like expanding the televisions in the concourses, getting better Wi-Fi, increasing the volume or getting a new PA system, new statues for different people, possibly a Keegan statue, renaming 9 Bar to Shearer's Bar, giving the Gallagher and Pigeon the send-off it deserves. New things, black and white seats, just something that will sort of really make the stadium quite nice. Get a member of the trust on the board. Of course, you've got the NUFC trust. There's the 1892 trust as well. A fan forum. This was my idea. I got in the Chronicle. A fan forum. Having every quarter, like, a conversation with the owners or with legends like Shearer, like Keegan, people like that. Expanding the women's team, a deep clean of the stadium, things like that. And then it's sort of nicely rounded off, by saying Sam Fender should play a nice little gig at St James's Park. He was at St James's Park on Thursday night. I think that's just a few things from the fans. I'm sure there's plenty more things as well, talking about, festivals as well. You look at Man City at the Etihad, and there's big festivals that happen during the game. They have legends doing interviews each game. They have live gigs in the grounds. Just things like that. Maybe it's at Leazes Park, maybe it's at Exhibition Park, something like that, just to make it feel like a really, really nice club and more sort of suitable to things like families, things like that. Adam, what would you make of that? Just, I've rattled off a few things there. You've got to sort of see it, and it's surely got to happen, right?
Yeah, I mean, let's just take it one step at a time. There's quite a lot coming out there, a lot of different things. I'm sure pretty much all of them are going to happen. I mean, yes, Newcastle are wanting now to be a team that's going to be a worldwide name. I mean, yes, the legends are obviously going to be more involved with the club. I think the likes of Keegan, Shearer, Gutierrez, these players deserve to have some sort of role at the club, I think. I mean, in terms of the future, I mean, it has a lot to hold, but yeah, the point is now that Newcastle has a direction, Newcastle has a way it wants to move, and I think, yes, a lot of those things will happen over time, but I mean, my focus at the minute is staying up. My focus is getting rid of some of the rubbish players at the club and getting some new ones in, but in terms of all that stuff behind the scenes, I'm sure all of it's going to happen.
How important do you think January is going to be? Of course, the transfer window will open 1st of January. We've got apparently £190 million to spend. If we spend all that, I mean, I doubt it. But, just knowing that we'll actually have that money there ready for us, it makes you feel quite confident, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it sounds smart from Mike Ashley, but you just didn't want to spend a penny in the club. It's actually benefited the club because we haven't been in any form of debt, which means we've got more money to spend. And obviously, you can go sort of loop around the financial fair players. But I don't think we ever have a problem with financial fair play, to be honest, because these owners always find a way to try and get around the rules. I mean, yes, it doesn't matter how much money we can spend, to be honest. It's more than the £20 million he spent in the summer, which is the important part. There's 70 points over by Christmas time, but I'm confident we're going to stay because we'll just splash the cash and make sure we stay. I mean, the teams like Norwich in the league, there's absolutely no chance of going really good.
Definitely, I think that's always been a thing with Newcastle United. There's always been 3 teams worse than us. I think this season it's no sort of different. You've got the likes of Norwich, like you said, Watford. I don't really have much trust in Claudio Ranieri. I hope I don't eat my words up. Jason's come back and he said, "Can we not have a bonfire with all the Sports Direct signs and things like that?" I mean, you never know. Them Sports Direct signs might just be gone. I saw a picture of them in a skip a little while ago, but I don't know if that was an old picture or not. We've talked about sort of things that could happen in a few years. What do you think could be just some like different, maybe not instant changes, but some changes that could happen quite quick, Rob?
Well, that's the thing. Other than getting Bruce out, my top of the list thing was get that Sports Direct stuff off the stadium ready for the Spurs game. And I actually said the other day when I was actually outside the ground in St James's, outside of St James's Park celebrating, I was talking to my friend about what do we want to happen first, and we both said those Sports Direct signs. And funnily enough, we actually spoke about, you know what Ashley's like. Has he got himself a little deal on the side? Well, you can have the ground, but I want to keep my sponsorship deal for the next 2 years. And we're going, oh, for the love of God, I hope that doesn't happen. But from what I'm hearing, people are saying that the signs are going to have to stay up short term. And I believe that's probably to do with some sort of sponsorship deal that's still lying with the club. I'm praying to God that ends at the beginning of the year or sooner, possibly, if that's possible. I really hope. And I mean, it's an eyesore. Does it make a difference to us? Really, no. But it's again, someone else was explaining. It's like a breakup with a girlfriend. You know, you don't want to have a picture of them sat on your bedside table when you go to bed. You know, we're going back to the ground. I want rid of it, all that stuff. I don't want to have to look at it. So short term, definitely, that's my number one. But it sounds like we may need to wait a few months before that can happen. And then after that, I mean, just little changes like making 9 bar Shearer's bar again. I mean, that'll literally take 2 seconds to put a new sign up and straight away that bar will be full again. I mean, I used to go in there all the time. And last few years, I've really not bothered. So, those kind of changes are quick and easy. And then if you want to go into it as well, I also think Bruce going will be one of the quick changes as well.
Yeah, I think, very quick. I was just thinking whilst you were talking there, when I did my little documentary for college, I had a quick vox pop with you.
Yes.
We talked about how, Mike Ashley came in with all these good intentions and it turned out to just be, a load of crap, really.
Yeah.
He's finally gone now. Do you guys have any sort of sympathy with Mike Ashley? He spoke to the Sun of all newspapers about this takeover, and he said that he'd had a bid from a different conglomerate that offered him higher amounts of money, but he thought that this consortium in particular was better for the club and things like that. Adam, I'll come to you on this first. Do you have any sort of sympathy for him at all?
No. I also think what he said about that's just a load of rubbish. I mean, like, you think about yourself as an owner. I mean, he doesn't care about Newcastle. He wanted to sell the club. Why would he reject the bid when there's a higher one? He's obviously just chatting a load of rubbish. I mean, but he comes out and he says, "Oh, I've kept this club financially stable. I've made sure these players and managers are paid." Well, that's your job. That's what an owner's supposed to do. Like, why is he coming out and pretending like he's like a messiah of all things? I mean, did what an owner is supposed to do. And I mean, yeah, I don't like him one bit. He can do one. He's destroyed his club the last 14 years. I've got no sympathy for him. He bought for £430 million. He's made about 3 times the profit. That's without God knows how much he's made for all the seasons. I mean, he didn't put a penny into this club. And yeah, I mean, what kind of honest does that mean? It's shocking. He can do one. But as Rob was saying before, though, in terms of short-term options coming in, I mean, yes, I can actually go into like 9 bar into the club shop now and not have that guilt anymore. I'm financially paying this club extra money. I mean, I can go in there now and just know that my money's going to go somewhere. And yeah, that's the important thing in Newcastle now. And I mean, Tottenham game next week. I mean, you already saw my tweet. I've got to wear the Saudi costume when I'm down there. But, yeah, I can't wait for that game. Thankfully, I'm not the only person doing it. But I mean, it's going to be an incredible atmosphere next week.
Adam, you're a brave man.
I was going to say, imagine if it didn't go through and you were sat there.
Yeah. Rob, do you echo Adam's thoughts once again?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got to, as I say, that I mean, we've got relegated twice. I mean, the only thing I can say is that there has been clubs where owners have come in and it has all gone wrong and they've gone down the leagues. I mean, look where Sunderland ended up. When we did go down to the Championship, we did spend money to come back up. But as Adam said, I mean, the club is in complete profit. I'm pretty sure under the reason we can spend so much is because clubs are allowed to make a loss of 150 million a season or something. So the fact that, you look at these other teams who are probably minus 150 million every season, we've been in the profit because we've not spent any of it. So, you've got to wonder. And again, I think that it's almost like a double-edged sword. I think what Ashley will say is that that's probably the one thing he'll say that he did do well is he did keep the club in profit and he kept it sustainable. But as Adam says, you've got to loosen the purse strings. You've got to bring some players in. You've got to try and push for something. And that's another thing that comes on, like the new owner. It's great that it's a 30 billion pound owner, but it could have been Joe Bloggs down the road and we would have been in the street celebrating and we'd probably be having a very similar conversation that we are here. I mean, in terms of Champions League and whatever in the future, we might not be having that conversation if it was just a small time owner, but we'd still be having the conversation of ambassadors, Shearer's Bar, signs down. We'd still be having a lot of these discussions and even just getting back to mid-table. These are just the simple things that we should have been doing under Ashley and he didn't. So for that reason, you cannot lend him much sympathy at all.
Yeah, I think that it's one of the things that we've got to reiterate again. We're not expecting to win Champions League straight away. I mean, I doubt even Man City expected all the success that they have.
Yeah.
It took them a few years to win a title. I'm not saying we're going to win a title in a few years, but, we just want to be a stable club and we just want someone who puts more money in than they take. And I think with, the likes of Amanda Staveley, with obviously the Saudi investment fund as well, it is really looking like, we'll have got a bright future ahead of her. I think we've also got to take my hat off to Amanda Staveley for her persistence as well. Mike Ashley really ripped into her at times. She really, really did rip into her at times. And, she stayed loyal to the core. She stayed persistent. After the first takeover didn't go through with what I thought it was people from Dubai or something like that, was it? She went to the obviously the Saudi investment fund, and it was a new consortium who wanted to take the club over, and it finally it happened. So big hats off to Amanda Staveley. Just before we end the podcast, guys, of course, I think we're going to see a lot of sort of incomings and outgoings as well within not just staff but players as well. Just going around the room, what two players would you guys like to keep, let's say, in 3 seasons' time? Yeah, we'll start with Adam.
So Maxim and Joe Warwick. Callum Wilson, 3 seasons' time, I just don't think his legs will be there anymore, I'll be honest. And I think Joe Warwick, he's an up-and-coming player. You've seen him under spells last season. He is a brilliant football player. St. Maxim, obviously, he's a top-level player. And I mean, I think those two are the obvious ones I would keep personally. But in terms of Callum Wilson, I don't think he'd have it in 3 years' time anymore.
You don't think he'd have it in 3 years' time? How old is he now, Callum Wilson? He's approaching 30, isn't he?
I'd say 28, maybe.
28. Oh, man. And Rob, who would you keep as well?
Yeah, I mean, well, again, that's the thing. I think that's what people will talk about in the January and stuff is having a spine of a team. I mean, we have some players like that. I'd say Dubravka in goal is a great keeper. Lascelles at the back when he can get his head together is a great player in the middle. Willock maybe. We need a general in midfield, and then obviously Wilson up top. I think for keeping 2 players, I think you've got to say St. Max because he's been such an outstanding player for us, and I think he could walk into any team. So even if we did somehow make it to pastures new in the Champions League or whatever, he would still be in the team sheet for me. And then a little slightly more out there one is I want to see Lascelles stick around for a little bit longer. Yeah. He looked really good when he came in. He was a young lad. We'll give him the captain. He flourished under Rafa. Then the last few years, he really has just fell off. I'd love it if, and he's still a young guy. I'd love to say, 5 years time when people have been coming in and out, but our captain at the back is still with the team. Like I'd love for him to stick around. I mean, again, And this is for all the players. They're going to have to step it up. I mean, our bench at the minute's got Jeff Hendrick and Dwight Gale on, so no one's got anything to worry about at the minute to stay in the team. You can have an absolute nightmare on the pitch, and you're still going to get played. So hopefully this is going to see a lot of these players step up, and maybe we might uncover some players who haven't been great the last few seasons can suddenly have a bit of a better game. So yeah, fingers crossed. Someone like Lascelles and Willock and St. Max can all hang on.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? I think thinking of all the options that we can potentially get in, and I think they would want Lascelles to be like that sort of company type player who stays there for a long time.
This is the vision I pretty much had. Yeah, I don't know if Lascelles will be good enough to do it in 5 years' time. I mean, he's definitely shown glimpses of good play, but as I say, he hasn't been good the last few seasons.
No, definitely not. And just before we finish the podcast, I want to say as well a little shout out to Grant Pringle, who is the Newcastle United social media manager. He has had the time of his life the past few days. And even now, I've just seen a tweet. It's just in case you missed it, it's a picture of Newcastle United and with a little sort of sold sign at the end. It's brilliant, isn't it? So Grant Pringle, I'm really hoping you did have a nice little can when you sent those tweets out and all the Facebook posts. But, gents, that is going to be the end of the podcast. It has been, probably the best podcast I think we've ever had in terms of positivity and just things to talk about. It's been an absolute cracking one. Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in. Thanks to everyone who stuck around through, all the misery that we've had. Hopefully, these are some good times ahead. But thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in. We'll be back after the international break, but we'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.